Welcome to ARW. I'm Harold, and today we're going to change out the wheels on my Craftsman lathe. The ones on there are plastic and not at all steady, and I got around the first part of last month I got a pile of these nice steel wheels, casters, to replace them with. Of course, I had a lot of things happen to delay me, and so I just recently, a couple of weeks ago, got the metal to put across the bottom to spread the wheels out a little bit further, and so now it's time to do something about it. Now, the last time that I talked about stickers, the day after I got this one, and it's from I think Jim's workshop, and he sent me a nice note along with it, and that's what it says here, Jim's Workshop on YouTube. So if you'll look him up, he would appreciate some views from some of you guys. Alright? And I guess now that I've said all that, and I can tell you the weather's perfect here in Texas, and here I am working inside. But we're going to do it. We're going to change out these wheels that I've had for the past couple of months. Let's just get on with it. I had a little interruption there, so I checked the mailbox, and I also got a sticker from Foxburg's Fabricating. That's DJ Berg. He's up in Pittsburgh. This other fellow is in Minneapolis, or in Minnesota anyway. So neither one of them would mind if you wanted to come over and take a look at some of their videos. I'm pretty sure of that. Alright, there's Jim's Workshop right there behind the poison dart gun. And I put DJ's right up there next to James Clow. DJ and Billy Huddleston, they're running the ARW discussion for me right now, so you can see them most any Sunday. As I've said many times before, most projects start out on the van side. After all, you got to make those adjustments to the length, right? And we are undigging this thing to make it a little smaller. Okay, we got the setup here with my new gantry that I built, I don't know, maybe last year. Got it sitting here end to end with the lathe, and of course it fits just right, because if you go up to the top there, I can spread it a foot in either direction wider to, you know, so I could span across a pickup truck if I wanted to, and it can go up about a foot taller as well. So I'll get a few straps and we'll lift this lathe up. Well, it's kind of leaning one way and not the other. I don't know if I can rig it so it's more level or not. I'm not the world's greatest rigger, so I don't know. I may just go with it like that. It's up off the floor, and when I got one end done, I can move down and pick up the other end. It's barely touching down there anyway, so I could probably take all the wheels off and everything right now. Let's see what happens. So right now the wheels are on a bolted on wheel, and so we're going to pull all those nuts off. And I'm going to reach way in there with that impact wrench and see if I can't get them to come loose. There's not much of a way for you to see what's going on here, because I'm going to cover up most of this stuff with my hands, and I've got to find where the little universal joint is, so hang on. I have before torn a universal joint like this all to pieces with the impact tool. I'm hoping this doesn't happen that way. I don't know if you can see it, but I can. Okay, I've got to anchor that wheel, that caster, so I'm going to have to just back off. You guys don't get to see it come out, because that's just the way it is. Well, I got the wheels off, but those nylon lock nuts complicated the matter a whole lot. When we go back on there, we'll use some other kind of nuts. Alright, now then I got to start on measuring up for the wheels and stuff. Well, I noticed a spot on my pants, and I got a good look at it. It's kind of red. Then I discovered I've sprung a leak. They got a little too close to the sheet metal there, I guess. So, I'd be in trouble with the boss lady. The doctor's trying to build up my blood, and here I am letting it leak out. Okay, I've got it set up for the holes to be drilled, and I've entered them in as data points, or datum as people like to say. Oh, alright, so now we're going to use the tap drill to drill the right size hole for 1/4 in 4 of those holes. Now the fifth one will be a 3/8 16. So you get a drill bit here. I'm making a 50% thread because that's really all we need, and it makes it easier to tap. Alright, so I got the drill bit in. We'll go to SDM. We'll go to SDM 1. It says I've got to go -9. Alright, that's, well, not too far. That's pretty good. Bit close. Alright. There. Alright, now we're going to drill the first hole in the right spot. I guess I should show you the first hole. Up here close to the machine. There we are. We're going to drill the first hole right there. It got to the bottom of that really quick. Okay, now then we're going to go back to the SDM function. Need to zoom it back out a little bit. Alright, let me back this thing down. Okay, now we're ready for hole number 2. We didn't need to move the X because we were already to the -9 millimeters, and that's all we needed to be. So let me reposition you for a shot at hole number 2. Okay. SDM3. We're already at the back, so the Y doesn't have to move this time. Alright, Alright, so I just drilled hole 4 of the 4 to 20 that we're going to put in there. Now let's go to hole 5, which is in a completely different spot. We'll do SDM 5. Alright, so this puts us right in the center of the piece of metal, because that's where we need that next hole. Zoom in there. See, we're right in the center. We'll drill him. Is exactly 12 inches from this hole. I need another hole 12 inches down. Alright, he'll be somewhere in here. So I'm going to convert millimeters to inches, and we'll go to the we'll drop out of the SDM and we'll go back to the absolute. Okay, and then we're going to go from the absolute to incremental, because I want to measure the 12 inches based on where I'm at right now. Alright, so we'll go to incremental. I'll zero out the incremental. And then we want to go 12 inches, but we're in metric, you know. So I'm going to convert it, and I'll come right back. Alright, I've moved you guys so that you can see good. I've got here a regular tape measure. I'll put it in the hole on this end. And there we are. It's 12 inches. So that's where this hole will go. Now then, what's going to happen here, once I've drilled that hole, I've got to turn this thing around and do those 5 holes all over again. And then I've got 2 more pieces of metal that I'm going to have to go through this whole thing, exactly what you see in here, over again. So I'm not going to do any of that on camera. It's just a lot of waste of your time. So let me go ahead and get all those holes drilled and tapped, and we'll come right back. Okay, so I'm power tapping all these holes. I got the 3/8 hole done that was done at the 12-inch mark. I've done these 2 holes, and I've got 2 more to go. Got some anchor lube. I'll squeeze that hole full of anchor lube and doctor up my tap with anchor lube, and we'll give her a shot here. Okay, so I'll do the other hole just exactly that same way, and then I'll flip it over on to the other end and do all this stuff all over. It's going to take me quite a while, I think. Alright, there's one finished. Of course, that's upside down to the way it's going to be fitted. I'll put it on the lathe like that with those 2 3/8 bolts being the ones that hold it to the lathe. And I've got one here, it's too tall. I'll have to cut him off. Right down there on that 1/4 incher. I have to cut him off a little shorter. But I'm doing it with all the stuff I've got on hand, so the bolts aren't all going to be of a uniform length. Alright, let's put it on the lathe and see what it looks like. Alright, so how I set up the SDM function for the datum is that I came over here and I made the front left corner of the piece of metal the X0 and Y0 in the absolute mode, which you can see right there. And after having done that, I went around to the right locations with a center drill, and I center drilled 5 of the holes. Okay, and then I wrote it down on a piece of paper where I was at with each one of those holes, and once I had them laid out, I came back and I moved the mill table back to where we were absolute X0, Y0. And you remember this was done in metric. So let me just go ahead and switch it to metric right now. We had to do it in metric so that the guys overseas could have a little bit of something familiar to them for a change. So then we went to the SDM. Now then, since we're going in the negative direction, the X right here had to be a -9. See that? -9. I'm going to check, look in here. Yeah, you can see that. Okay. And then we'd put the Y button, and that one was 14 millimeters. And then we go on from there to the next thing. Of course, it's got to be X -9. And then we did the same thing, push the Y and put 36.5 millimeters in there, and similar things all the way to the end. Okay, and then when we're ready to start drilling the holes with the tap drills and such, we come back here and we of course ran the little fella here back to 0. Keep going too far. And then the Y, we ran the Y down to 0 and drilled our hole, and then we would go to the next function, and wherever it's supposed to be located, we'd move to there, etc. So now we got through with it. Alright, so we're back to absolute. Now, that saved me a lot of time and worrying and having to go look at the paper every time I wanted to do the holes over again, because, I mean, I would forget where one of them should be, I'm sure. All I had to do was just start on SDM1 and move it there to zeroed out, drill the hole, hit SDM2, zero out the numbers, drill the hole, etc., all the way down the line. I think it's a real good time saver. Alright, my battery went dead, so I didn't show you the milling off of the extra long bolts. But, and I'm handheld now, sorry about that. But I've got all 6 of the wheels on the lathe, and it's back in its normal position, and it came out really good. So I think now we should check on Bubba or Ole or somebody like that. Now, there was a couple of highway patrol out there running around on the road. They'd been out there all day long driving up and down the highway. One of them looks at us and says, "Hey," he says, "you know," he says, "our shift will be over another hour. We hadn't wrote a ticket one today." So yeah, one driver says, "I'll tell you what, we'll stop the very next car that comes by." So here comes this old pickup truck, you know, down the road, and they stopped, turned around, followed it. Pickup truck staying in his lane, giving all the right signals, staying under the speed limit, not doing a thing wrong. They followed him and followed him, and finally one of the officers tells the other, he says, "You know, I never seen an Alabama boy drive that good and that safe." He says, "We can't give him a ticket," but he says, "I think I'm just going to pull him over and congratulate him on being such a safe driver." So they pulled him over, you know, and officer walks up there and says, "How you doing, sir?" And Bubba says, "I'm doing all right," you know, and the officer says, "What?" He says, "You're not going to get a ticket or nothing." He said, I just noticed how really good you're driving here." And he said, "I thought I'd congratulate you on being so safe and all." And Bubba said, "Well," he says, "when you're drunk as I am, you got to drive safe."